1,500 patients, Denis. 100 of them connected to machines that now operate blindly. The doctors have no records, no data, they have nothing. They only have the message you left on their screens. Pay the ransom or lose everything. And now the hospital director has opened the encrypted chat. He is writing. He is willing to pay. And you are looking at the figure he just offered you and still haven't decided whether to accept it. To understand how a man reaches that moment, sitting in front of a screen, evaluating whether the price of a collapsed hospital is sufficient, we must go back 20 years. 1992, Lyubersky, an industrial municipality on the outskirts of Moscow. This is not the Moscow of golden domes or the oligarchs with their limousines. Lyubersky is the other Moscow, the one with 9-story concrete blocks, elevators that smell of dampness, markets where people haggle for frozen vegetables, the Moscow that doesn't appear on postcards. That's where Denis Mikhailovich Dubnikov was born. His mother, Irina, worked as an administrative assistant at a distribution company on Prospect Oktyabrski. His little brother, Artyom, was 4 years younger than him. The three of them lived in a 2-room apartment on the 5th floor of a building exactly like 50 other buildings in the same neighborhood. They didn't go hungry, but every ruble was counted. And in that apartment, there was something that would change everything. A computer, an old tower computer with a Pentium processor that his father had left behind when he left. For the kids in the block, that machine was a noisy mystery. For Denis, it was a universe. By 8, he was already taking the computer apart and putting it back together by himself. At 10, he was installing programs that no adult in his building knew how to use. At 12, he was fixing the neighbors' computers in exchange for nothing, just for the pleasure of understanding how they worked. His teachers at Lyubertsy's school number 7 remember him as the boy who finished exams in 20 minutes and then got bored staring at the ceiling. Top marks in math, top marks in physics, and intelligence that the neighborhood had never seen before. In 2009, at 17, Denis finished high school with one of the best academic records in his year. The plan was clear: to get into the Bauman Moscow State Technical University, MSTU, one of the best computer engineering schools in all of Russia. The logical dream for someone with his talent. He passed the entrance exams without trouble, but to get into the university, you had to pay. He began calculating the expenses he would have to cover: tuition, books, transport, and materials. 1 year was already impossible, but it wasn't just 1 year. It was 4 years. He did the sums again, more slowly, more precisely. They didn't add up, not even close. To pay for just 1 year, he needed the full salary from 2 years of his mother's work. And that was without counting rent, without counting food, without counting everything else. There was no way. At that moment, he understood. It wasn't a difficulty, it was a limit. In the end, he made a decision. He enrolled in a vocational program, cheaper, shorter, more realistic, but also further from what he wanted. It was a defeat, not the kind you can see, but the kind that stays inside, the kind that makes no noise but hurts just as much. Anyone else would have accepted it and moved on, but Denis Dubnikov wasn't that kind of person. He didn't accept defeats, and certainly not in silence. Night. 2010. Denis is 18 years old. By day, he works in a neighborhood internet cafe, repairing computers. By night, he connects to the internet through a shared ADSL line. And in those nights, he discovers something he never knew he was searching for. In early 2000s Russia, a parallel digital subculture existed, forums where people discuss things that never appeared in newspapers. Among the most well-known were exploit and dark money. These massive communities had thousands of users and a technical level that often surpassed most Western equivalents. Denis starts by reading, then participating, then asking questions. He learns phishing, the art of creating fake websites identical to real ones so that users unknowingly enter their passwords. He learns social engineering, how to exploit human trust, always the weakest link. He realizes something fundamental. Technology isn't the limit, people are. And gradually, a simple truth takes shape. Technology is not the limit, people are. And in February 2011, Denis receives his first illegal money. He has created a fake page that perfectly imitates Sberbank. He sends it by email to a list of addresses, using a spam server rented for the equivalent of $3 on an Explo forum. He sends hundreds of emails with the subject line, "Suspicious activity in your account," and waits 1 minute, 10, 30, nothing, until a click happens. Someone logs in. A user in the United States, thousands of kilometers away, enters their details without suspecting anything, and at that moment, the account stops being theirs. Denis gains access, checks the balance, freezes for a moment, thinking, weighing things, and then acts. He transfers a small amount, just enough not to raise alarms, moves it between accounts as a bridge, converts it into digital money, and disappears. Less than $200, a ridiculous amount. But it's not about the money, it's about what has just happened. That night, Denis doesn't sleep, not out of fear, but because he has discovered something far more important. It works, no one saw him, and there is no ceiling to this. After that, there is no going back. Between 2011 and 2016, Denis Dubnikov rose within Russian cybercrime at an unusually fast pace. He starts like everyone else, phishing individuals, mass emails, small amounts. It works. Then he moves up a level, small businesses, weaker protections, higher rewards per breach. That works too. But at that point, something shifts. While others focus on breaking in, Denis focuses on something else. The money, how it moves, where it appears, and above all, where it goes afterward. Around 2016, the flow began to change. It's no longer stolen cards or compromised bank accounts. Now the money is coming from somewhere else. Ransomware. Ransomware is simple in concept, but devastating in reality. You arrive at your office, turn on your computer, and everything is gone. No files, no clients, no history. Everything your company has built has disappeared. In its place, a message: pay in Bitcoin or lose everything forever. There is no technical support, no recovery, only one decision: pay or disappear. In the second half of the 2000s and 10s, this becomes the most profitable criminal industry in the world. Millions, then hundreds of millions, then billions. But eventually, even that is not enough. Small targets mean fast payments and controlled risk, but limited profit. Denis begins looking for something else. Bigger, more profitable, more aggressive. Because at that stage, ransomware is no longer just a tool. It is a business. And the targets change. It is no longer about who is vulnerable, but about who cannot afford to say no. Denis understands this immediately, but he also understands something more subtle. He does not want to be the one launching the attacks. That role is risky, technical, and exposed. He wants something else, more invisible, more valuable, harder to trace. The launderer. The man who takes dirty Bitcoin from ransoms, paid by hospitals or multinationals, and turns it into clean, usable, untraceable money. In 2017 and 2018, Denis founds two companies in Moscow, Exchange and Coyote Crypto. On paper, they are legitimate cryptocurrency exchanges. He sets them up in the Federation Tower, the most modern skyscraper in Moscow. From the outside, everything looks clean, legal, and transparent. But in this business, money doesn't just come in, it also disappears. And Denis hasn't built this just for people to buy Bitcoin. He has built it for something larger. Alongside these platforms, he builds the hidden side of the operation. It doesn't appear in records and has no visible offices, but it is far more powerful. A group of hackers recruits the best. Those who are technical, methodical, and understand that this is not chaos, but business. They call it Wizard Spider. Based in Russia, with its core in St. Petersburg, it is not a group of teenagers in a basement. It is organized like a company. While the platforms process millions in cryptocurrency, the group operates in the shadows. They learn, test, fail, and improve. Until August 2018, when they take the next step. They create one of the most dangerous ransomware strains in the world. They call it Ryuk, a name taken from a Japanese manga, a death demon that steals souls. It is not a game. It is the beginning of something much larger. And when Ryuk activates, nothing is ever the same again. Ryuk doesn't attack just anyone. It is selective, surgical. It targets organizations that cannot afford to be offline for even a day. Hospitals, universities, city councils, critical infrastructure companies. Because those organizations pay, they always pay. The process is always the same. First, the Wizard Spider Group spends weeks or even months inside the victim's network without doing anything visible, moving silently, mapping systems, identifying the most critical files, and waiting for the perfect moment, a weekend or a holiday night, when the IT team is reduced. Then they activate Ryuk, and within hours, everything is locked behind a digital padlock. In Spain, Ryuk was responsible for the attack on CP, the State Public Employment Service, in March 2021. Thousands of workers were unable to process benefits. The system was paralyzed for weeks. An entire country watched as a public institution was digitally hijacked. But the darkest attack, the one that best reveals what lies behind every line of Ryuk's code, took place in Oregon in October 2020. Klamath Falls, Oregon, United States. A city of 22,000 inhabitants with a single hospital serving a vast rural area. There is no alternative, no room for error. On the night of October 27, 2020, Ryuk activated inside the systems of Sky Lakes Medical Center in Klamath Falls. In less than 4 hours, 4,200 computers were encrypted. The medical records of 200,000 patients were locked. The radiology system was disabled. Laboratory equipment was taken offline. Emergency room doctors had to make decisions without patient histories, without knowledge of allergies, prior medications, or even blood types. Everything was inaccessible. The same message appeared on every screen. Your files have been encrypted. To recover them, pay. On the other side of the operation was Denis. He doesn't improvise. He doesn't hesitate. He follows a process he has repeated before, but never on this scale. It took almost 2 weeks for the hospital to regain full functionality. The demanded ransom, several $1 million in Bitcoin. And that Bitcoin, or part of it, ended up passing through the hands of Denis Dubnikov.
By 2019, Denis Dubnikov was a millionaire. He had gone from an apartment in Lyubertsy to a flat in central Moscow, and later to extended stays in Dubai. According to Chainalysis, between 2019 and 2021, his 2 exchanges received more than $34 million in Bitcoin originating from illegal operations. The U.S. Department of Justice estimates that Denis and his network laundered at least $70 million in Ryuk-related ransom payments. In July 2019 alone, after an American company paid 250 bitcoins to Wizard Spider as ransom, Denis received 35 of those bitcoins directly from Moscow, about $400,000, in exchange for laundering them. But beneath that success, something began to crack. By 2020, Denis was going through a divorce. His marriage did not survive the secrets, the unexplained trips, and a life permanently tied to illegality. Some of his closest associates disappeared, arrested or vanished, while the FBI had been building its case since 2018. Denis knew it, or at least he should have. But the $70 million had become a habit that was hard to quit. November 1st, 2021, Mexico City, Benito Juarez International Airport. Denis is traveling with his family. At passport control, the officer types something into the system, looks at the screen, then back at Denis. You cannot enter the country. No explanation, no appeal, no one to call. What Denis does not know is that the FBI has been coordinating his capture with multiple agencies for months. Mexico was chosen as the interception point because its immigration procedures allowed rerouting without immediate international escalation. Denis is placed on a flight to Amsterdam. At Schiphol Airport, Dutch police are waiting. His lawyer, Arkady Buk, one of the best-known attorneys in Russian-American extradition cases, later told Russian media that his client had been practically kidnapped, claiming the FBI orchestrated the operation to bring him to a jurisdiction where extradition to the United States was virtually guaranteed. The Netherlands has one of the strongest extradition treaties with the US. Buk understood the strategy, and he was right. In August 2022, Denis Dubnikov arrived in Portland, Oregon, in federal custody, back in the same state where one of the hospital attacks linked to his network had occurred. In February 2023, in the U.S. District Court for the District of Oregon, Denis Mikhailovich Dubnikov, 30 years old, Russian citizen, pleaded guilty to 1 count of conspiracy to commit money laundering. The evidence was overwhelming. Blockchain analysis, transaction records, witness statements, and Chainalysis reports. The case was solid. Maximum sentence, 20 years in federal prison. On April 11, 2023, the sentence was delivered. Time served. Denis Dubnikov was sentenced to the time he had already spent in detention since November 2021, plus a $10,000 fine and the forfeiture of $2,000. For someone accused of laundering tens of millions and whose actions contributed to disrupting hospitals across multiple continents, the penalty was minimal. The most widely accepted explanation, though never officially confirmed, is cooperation. Denis likely provided names, wallets, and detailed laundering structures, helping the FBI dismantle parts of the financial infrastructure behind Ryuk and related ransomware groups that continue to operate today. In U.S. federal law, A sentence like this, in a case carrying a 20-year maximum penalty, rarely happens without substantial cooperation. Denis Dubnikov walked free. There are several things to understand before closing this story. First, ransomware is not abstract. It is not just code. It is doctors making decisions without patient data, nurses returning to paper systems, entire hospitals frozen. When someone says there are no real victims, remember Klamath Falls. Second, Denis's story is also about talent without direction, a young man with real technical ability who never found a legitimate path for it. That is not an excuse, but it raises an uncomfortable question. How many similar profiles exist today, anywhere in the world, waiting for an opportunity that never arrives? Third, Ryuk disappeared in 2022, but others replaced it. Conti, Lockbit, Black Cat. The industry persists, adapts, and evolves. As long as there are vulnerable systems and financial incentives, it will not stop. And one final question remains. Denis Dubnikov, 31 years old, highly skilled, well-connected, free since 2023. Where is he now? No one knows, and that is the most unsettling part.